You know, on one hand, I'm extremely proud that my 300th commentary falls on the 25th anniversary of The Undertaker. But on the other hand, it also falls on the same day of one of the shittiest pay-per-views I've ever seen. What's up, everyone? Good Mike Work back at you for episode number 300. Nothing really special in this episode. There's been a lot going on. I knew the way all the episodes were playing out, my Survivor Series predictions and the 2 Survivor Series reviews that I did. I knew that my reaction video was probably going to be my 300th video, so I really wasn't going to plan on doing anything special. Plus, I've been so busy lately, and I've recently moved, like a lot of you know. So, you know, this commentary is just going to come and go as any other. I will have something a little bit bigger planned, though, for the end of the year, and I'm thinking about doing just a larger than normal Q&A, since technically I owe you guys a Q&A anyway, and I only answer a handful of questions in those. I'll answer a pretty good amount and put that up in some sort of year-end video at the end of December. But in the meantime, every time I stumble across like a little tiny milestone on this channel, I always want to make sure I offer and extend my great appreciation for everybody that listens to me and likes what I do and is a fan of me. I grew pretty much out of nothing, just threw a few voice memos up on YouTube for shits and gigs in 2010. You guys liked what I've had to say, followed me through the years, and now I've got around 10,000 YouTube subs. So it's been a hell of a ride. It's been a lot of fun. And I think we've all come a long way. My listeners have grown up. I myself have grown up. I'm definitely not the same guy that I was doing commentaries in 2010. We've been through a lot together, through the good and the bad. And unfortunately, tonight we're going to have to talk about one of the bads. If you're listening to me for the first time, and my 300th commentary is your first commentary, welcome to my channel. Make sure you sub it. I also have a second channel. Sub that. Like this video. Follow me on Twitter and like me on Facebook, and I have a website, GoodMicWorkCommentaries.com, where you can view all of these YouTube videos and also download these commentaries in an MP3 form, or you can go over to iTunes or Stitcher Radio and find me there. For the rest of you, let's talk about this fucking pay-per-view. My God. First off, I do think it's necessary to mention the story that broke a couple of days ago that this show, the Survivor Series pay-per-view in Atlanta, was one of the places that was possibly targeted by ISIS. WWE is going through an ISIS threat. Kind of scary, you know, when you think about it. A few of my listeners and stuff, I think, probably attended this show tonight. And I know the Atlanta Police Department and everybody involved in WWE and security really tightened things up. I think there was some metal detectors put in and shit like that. And when you think about it, there was also 16 or 17 NFL football games that took place today as well, with tens of thousands of people in stadiums all across the country. So I guess technically everybody was threatened today, but it is kind of scary when you hear shit like that, and I'm glad nothing happened. I'm glad the show went off without a hitch. WWE, fearless as they always are, and the fans as well, stuck it right in their face and opened the show with a great rendition, of course, as always, by Lillian Garcia singing the national anthem. And I'm not even an overly patriotic guy. I don't really believe in sucking the dick of my country. It's not that important to me as it is to some other people, but it was really nice to see that, you know, in the face of danger, we were like, you know what, fuck you. Not only are we going to go on with our show as planned, but we're going to sing our goddamn theme song right in your face. To me, that's what makes America so awesome, is that we have fucking balls and we don't take shit from anybody. And if these fucking pussies under the hood want to drop their weapons, I'm sure that most Americans would be more than willing to fist fight any of these assholes to the death. I mean, they're climbing on monkey bars in their fucking workout videos. I think we can take them in a fight. So ISIS, nice try, but fuck you. Now, into this pay-per-view, I have to say, the crowd was fucking dead. No pun intended there. They really were. They were quiet. Very, very weak reactions for a lot of stuff that the WWE was probably hoping to get great reactions out of. And I normally don't come up here on commentaries and shit on pay-per-views too bad. I always try to see the other side of things. I try to see the silver lining. And I'm not saying this pay-per-view was all bad, but when you combine the crowd reaction to everything tonight and the relatively predictable booking, it kind of fell flat. And Survivor Series have really never set the world on fire in recent years anyway. A lot of them are just a blur to me. I can't remember one in a while that I've actually enjoyed. But we were going to crown a new WWE champion tonight, and it was also the 25th anniversary of the greatest WWE character of all time, The Undertaker. The fact that the WWE could not pull a good show out of their ass here really surprises me. They had an opportunity to make Survivor Series memorable for once, and of course it fell flat. I was not very optimistic in my predictions video. I predicted this thing pretty accurately, actually. I believe in my last video I did say, reluctantly, and I've never wanted to be wrong more than I was, but I really was convinced that we were going to see Sheamus walk out of this pay-per-view as champion. champion, because I mentioned, there is no champion right now. Their plans got derailed a little bit with Seth Rollins dropping the belt. So if Sheamus, as the Money in the Bank holder, can't get his hands on the belt when nobody's holding it, then he's never going to get his hands on it. So, in a way, I was almost hoping he would have an unsuccessful cash-in. And how ironic is that? Roman Reigns, lost to the Money in the Bank winner twice, within, 7, 8 months since WrestleMania. Seth and Sheamus both cashed in on Roman Reigns matches, and as much as the WWE tried and as hard as they tried to get sympathy for poor Roman Reigns, the fans still booed his ass out of the building. The guy got fucked over twice. He wins the WWE title. By the way, we're jumping right into the main event here, if you hadn't noticed. After he winds up beating his brother Dean Ambrose in this hard-fought victory and the confetti comes down and he's celebrating, you knew the WWE was dragging this out. I'm like, even as bad as this pay-per-view has been, there's no way they're going to end it now. I mean, this is Batista and Roman Reigns winning the Royal Rumble caliber shit if they do this. Something has got to happen, even if that means Sheamus coming out and cashing in the Money in the Bank. And when he did, I was really not surprised. I'm not a fan of Sheamus being the WWE title holder, but when they gave him the Money in the Bank briefcase, that was almost a certain guarantee that he would one day win the belt. So as far as what this means for Sheamus, I'm really not sure. I don't know if he's going to align himself with Triple H now. It doesn't look like this was one of Triple H's master plans, much like it was at SummerSlam a couple of years ago. Triple H came out there and tried to congratulate Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns speared him and says, "No, fuck you. I told you I didn't want anything to do with you, and I meant it." It amazes me that a character that strong would actually be booed by the fans, because I actually like the fact that Roman speared Triple H. And I thought Triple H was going to wind up getting back in the ring and helping Sheamus win, but that really didn't happen. Sheamus was able to beat Roman Reigns on his own, so I think Triple H might be siding with Sheamus just because Sheamus came out there and cashed it in, not necessarily that it was all part of some master plan. So Sheamus being aligned with Triple H, I guess, is better than nothing, but still not that thrilled that he won this title. However, Roman Reigns just straight up winning it, I think would have pissed a lot of fans off as well, so at least they tried their best to surprise us, and Money in the Bank cash-ins usually are surprising. This one just wasn't as surprising as most of them. And on top of that, when you take into consideration how many of us desperately wanted to see some sort of a heel turn, I think even the biggest Roman Reigns critics, the people that give him shit all the time, would probably even agree that he would be great as a heel, and they would probably prefer him as a heel and maybe lighten up on the guy if he was. It's the WWE's relentless booking of him as a strong babyface in the face of a bunch of booing fans that's driving everyone nuts, and I can totally see that argument. WWE had a chance here tonight to do something like turn Roman Reigns heel. When they look back at their own history, they had guys like The Rock who were being booed by the fans, and they turned that into a storyline. The Rock made a great heel because he was able to tell the fans to go fuck themselves. If they did something like that with Roman Reigns, I think that would be so much better, but they are hell-bent on making him a John Cena-level babyface, and I think that that is a colossal mistake. Unless they realize this mistake in a couple of months. That's another thing that I don't agree with on fans that go so crazy over bad pay-per-views and they want to cancel their WWE network and never watch the product again and all that bullshit. The story doesn't end here. The WWE still has time to change things around if it's not working. We've already seen them do that once with Daniel Bryan when the fans were finally like, "Look, motherfuckers, push this fucking guy or we're going to burn your goddamn arena down." And WWE finally did it. So, people just keep speaking their mind. Maybe eventually WWE would say, okay, we might need to turn Roman Reigns heel. We can always turn him back into a babyface, a very, very strong one with maybe a few less boos in the future, and still collect all the money and merchandise that we would normally collect off him if he remained a babyface. It would help us out with the majority of the audience. We would stop hearing so many boos. I think it would help in a lot of ways if he had a heel run and then eventually went back to babyface. He doesn't have to be a heel for the rest of his life. And to the wrestling fans, I say the same thing. The story does not have to end here. I know a lot of people are fearful that after we just saw John Cena be a babyface for 10 years, they're going to do the same thing with Roman Reigns. I don't think they're going to take it to that extreme. Yes, I think WWE has an idea in their head of what they want Roman Reigns to be, and they are determined to make that happen, no matter how bad it pisses off the fans. But I don't see Roman Reigns being as bad as John Cena was as far as the WWE's refusal to ever do anything different with him. I just don't think Roman Reigns is going to be that type of wrestler. I think John Cena was. Yes, they do need the next John Cena, but Roman Reigns does not have to be a 10-year babyface, and I don't believe he will be. So he's obviously now probably going to feud with Sheamus over this title. I would hope that Roman Reigns beats him for it, at least by the Royal Rumble. Probably not TLC. As a matter of fact, we might even have a three-way. Maybe Dean wants to get involved in this thing, in the TLC TLC or whatever, but Roman Reigns, I would hope, would maybe beat Sheamus for the belt at Royal Rumble and go into WrestleMania to potentially drop it. You know, I mean, there is the rumors of him and Cena, and as crazy as this sounds, I actually think that would be an intriguing matchup, especially if they tied in some sort of a heel turn by one of them into that match. But that's a whole nother conversation that's months away. Let's not talk about Mania yet. We just got done with Survivor Series, and we're all trying to process this new WWE champion and Sheamus. Whatever they do, I'll do my best to get behind it, but I would like to see Sheamus have that belt removed from him by early next year at the latest. He does not need to go into Mania as champion. I know a lot of fans also were disappointed that Dean Ambrose did not turn heel. A lot of people were hoping that would happen, and he would turn on Roman Reigns and fight dirty, wind up winning the title, and maybe joining up with the Authority, just as a way to swerve the fans. And Dean Ambrose, I think we all agree, would make a great heel. He's very crazy and Brian Pillman-like, and I think an edgy heel character portrayed by Ambrose would be a fantastic thing to watch, but they didn't do that either. So all in all, I wasn't that pleased with the main event. As much as people hated the idea of Roman Reigns winning the WWE title, I think I would almost have preferred that over Sheamus winning it, as crazy as it sounds. But, you know, I'm going to give it a chance. Who knows how it'll end up? Like I said, it's not the end of the story. There's many more chapters to be written here, and many more matches where the WWE can maybe possibly redeem themselves for such a horrible pay-per-view tonight. We look at 2015 so far this year. We've had some random great pay-per-views sprinkled throughout the year. You know, not everyone's great, and a lot of them fall flat, and a lot of them is not the WWE's fault, and a lot of them are. This is one that I think the WWE is definitely at fault here. They had a perfect outline. They had a perfect setup for this pay-per-view, crowning a new WWE champion and celebrating the 25th anniversary of The Undertaker, and they could not make all of that work into a good show. That's pretty depressing and disappointing when you think about it. So WWE, get your shit together. Give us a good TLC. Give us a good Royal Rumble. And please, goddammit, give us a good WrestleMania season, because you have 100,000 people to put into that stadium in Dallas. And you better have something better than Sheamus as WWE champion headlining that show. So that's all I'll really say about the main event situation right now. We'll see what happens tomorrow night after Monday Night Raw. I'm sure I will be up here with a Raw review. We'll probably have a main event for the next pay-per-view already announced by then. So I'll be up, Tuesday or Wednesday at the latest with some sort of discussion about Monday Night Raw and the fallout from Survivor Series. We'll basically go backwards here on this card. We'll talk about The Undertaker and Kane taking on the Wyatt family next. Now, this was all basically a big celebration of The Undertaker, and I wasn't really expecting him and Kane to lose, but it was almost just kind of anticlimactic. He just went out there with Kane to win a match, and basically it was more of a celebration than a match. The unbelievable entrance by The Undertaker with that giant, casket or coffin Titantron, or video screen or whatever it was in there, showing the character evolution of The Undertaker throughout the years. Very cool. Very elaborate entrance, of course, as we would expect. And the two guys Kane and Taker wound up facing was Luke Harper and Bray Wyatt. I was surprised. I thought it would be Braun Strowman, but it turned out to be Luke Harper. Eric Rowan was a non-factor. He got chokeslammed right in the beginning before the match even started and just, I guess, vanished into thin air or went back to the locker room or whatever. Strowman stayed on the outside of the ring, got himself involved a couple of times. Undertaker and Kane ended up chokeslamming him through the table, and then Undertaker eventually delivered a flawless tombstone to Luke Harper and got the pin, and he celebrated with his brother. Great moment, even though the match was a little bit less exciting considering all the build. It's just still so amazing to see The Undertaker there 25 years to the day after he walked in the doors of the WWE, seeing the long career he has had and seeing where he is now and watching him perform on this show after 25 years. I don't know if you can even wrap your head around how long that is. His longevity and the type of career he has had is very rare, and we don't see too many of these. A true icon if there ever was one, and congratulations to The Undertaker on 25 years. The other big match on Survivor Series, or a match that was billed to be a big one on Survivor Series, was the Divas title between Charlotte and Paige. Now, it had a lot of controversy after Monday Night Raw, the contract signing where Charlotte's brother, Reid Flair, was brought up. I mentioned it in my last commentary that I definitely thought it was fucked up, but it didn't really bother me that bad. Turns out it bothered a lot of people. A lot of people have spoke up and said this was ridiculous. I definitely see their point. I agree with them, actually. I just didn't dwell on it, I guess. I was like, yeah, it's fucked up. It's not the first time WWE's done fucked up shit like this, and I pretty much shook it off. Everybody else took it extremely seriously, and even wrestlers have spoken out saying, that wasn't a very cool thing to do. And in a way, I think it contributed to ruining this match and feud. The fans were virtually silent throughout this whole thing. No reaction at all. Charlotte and Paige are in there trying to tell their story. Two damn fine women's wrestlers, by the way, and the fans are literally not giving a fuck at all. And it was sad to see. It was uncomfortable to watch because we're all such a fan of women's wrestling right now and how great the Divas are doing and how the WWE has really tightened up this division and made it credible for once. And they're even booking these Divas in main event situations on Raw and shit like that. And here they finally have this match for the title. And it was, the work was fine. Girls did great in the ring. Fans didn't give a fuck. That was the problem. So, the fans could have done a little bit more. Maybe they should have got drunker. I don't know what they needed, a few more beers in them or something to have a little bit more fun out there. But the crowd was dead. Charlotte did win, incidentally, as I predicted, and I'm sure most of you predicted as well, made Paige tap out. And in storyline, Paige deserved to tap out because what she said about Charlotte's brother was fucked up. That was pretty much all I predicted since I uploaded my commentary before the remaining matches were announced for Survivor Series. I predicted that Dean Ambrose would beat Kevin Owens, and that was a damn fine match, by the way, with a really great finishing sequence. I loved it. And, of course, nobody was expecting Del Rio to beat Roman Reigns, but you know what? The match was still good. So Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose both advancing in their matches to face each other in the finals was really not a huge surprise either. And if you ask me, it was WWE's way of teasing us and then blue-balling us. They made it seem like somebody's going to turn heel. They even talked in the locker room, Ambrose and Reigns and all that. But not to get back into the main event, but the way they played it up during the show, you were thinking, oh man, someone's going to turn. And it never happened. But really, those were the only matches I had the opportunity to predict because that was all that was announced after last week's Monday Night Raw. We did have, happily, a traditional Survivor Series elimination match, 5-on-5. It was Ryback teaming up with the Lucha Dragons and the Usos. They were taking on all three members of the New Day and Xavier Woods' fantastic hairdo. There was a couple of things funny about this match. First of all, Xavier Woods and Kofi were never eliminated. Big E was pinned, and the two of them helped him back to the locker room and never came back. So they were just, I guess, counted out. The three winners in this match were, I think, Jey Uso, Kalisto, and Ryback in what the WWE calls the sole survivors. Not only did Lillian announce the three of them as the sole survivors, the commentary team also said Ryback and Jey Uso and Kalisto are your sole survivors. Do you motherfuckers not know what sole survivor means? It means one person. Andre the Giant was the sole survivor in 1987. You either have a sole survivor or you have survivors, plural. I laughed that they both made that mistake, and that term sole survivor is so ingrained in everybody's brain from the first ever Survivor Series, they just assume all winners are the sole survivors. Where's CM Punk's Grammar Slam when you need it? But anyway, the match wasn't that horrible because there was one or two good spots. All four guys, the Dragons and the Usos, all dove over the top rope at the same time to land on the entire team on the outside. Ryback also climbed to the top rope and landed all nine guys by himself. And a couple of pretty good-looking spots, but for the most part, the match was nothing special. But it was nice to see a traditional Survivor Series elimination match on the show. They had to have one. They also added a singles match, which turned out to be pretty good, considering it was an intergender match. They really haven't done this since China was around, but they had Dolph Ziggler taking on that girl, Tyler Breeze. But she held her own in there against a great worker like Dolph Ziggler, and she is a hell of a little worker. And it was cool that Dolph Ziggler put her over. I think she's gonna go on to big things in the WWE. Competing the way she is at that level with her sister Summer Rae by her side, I'm really proud of what she's accomplishing. Still not sure how I feel about her working topless, but that's another discussion for another time. Congrats to Tyler Breeze. You are much better in the ring than I gave you credit for, and I'm very proud of you, sweetheart. And finally, I do want to mention the kickoff match that was also a traditional 5-on-5 Survivor Series elimination match, and we saw the return of Goldust. 20 years ago at this show in 1995, he wrestled Bam Bam Bigelow. He debuted the month before at In Your House. Goldust has been around for 20 years. That is mind-blowing to me. Made his big triumphant return tonight, scaring the shit out of his little brother. He teamed up with the Dudley Boys, Titus O'Neil, and Neville to take on the Ascension, Cody Rhodes, or Stardust, The Miz, and Bo Dallas. And I think everybody on the babyface side survived except for Neville. He was eliminated, but Titus, the Dudleys, and Goldust were your, wait for it, sole survivors. So that's it. That's your Survivor Series 2015. It's in the books. I think we can all agree. Not the greatest show we've ever seen. A little bit disappointing in a lot of what went down. Still cool to see The Undertaker 25 years later after his debut, and there's a really good celebration there. I appreciate the WWE, giving us a double title change in one night. Technically, Roman Reigns is now a former WWE champion. But I think the guy holding the actual briefcase might have been the wrong guy to begin with, and if it was somebody else, this might have been a more exciting cash-in and title change. I don't think the fans are very into Sheamus, and I think the WWE is going to find that out. And I have to give this pay-per-view a 4 out of 10. That's the best I can do. I never shit on the product. I never give it this hard a time unless it's really extremely atrocious, like what we saw at the Royal Rumble the last couple of years. So I try to always just see the WWE side of things, or try to see, any positives, or take out any positives that I can out of a show. And unfortunately, this show just had very few. So we'll see what kind of show we're going to get tomorrow night on Monday Night Raw. I have a feeling we're actually going to get a good show. Sometimes when WWE has a really bad pay-per-view, they follow it up with some really solid television. So hopefully we'll at least see that on Monday night, and we can be somewhat excited for the next pay-per-view or whatever direction they're going in, as long as they give us a little bit something better to work with on Raw tomorrow night. So we'll have to wait and see. Also, I do have to mention, I did not bring this up earlier on, I did read the reports that Cesaro may potentially be injured. He might be out 4 to 6 months with a separated shoulder, possibly surgery. I think that's horrible, terrible timing right now for Cesaro, but maybe if he goes away and has some surgery and takes some time off, WWE can just not fuck it up when he comes back. Think about him and Seth Rollins both returning a few months apart. Those can be two really big roster members that they can use and utilize in a major way. And I think sometimes, as much as injuries suck and I hate to see guys go down, sometimes a little bit of a break and a return can be just what a guy needs to spice him up, to bring interest back to the fans. The fans are going to miss him. Hopefully they will continue to chant Cesaro and do Cesaro sections, and when WWE does bring him back, when he's recovered from his injury, he can be used in a major way. Or WWE can just as easily fuck it up. I'm not saying they can't do that either. But hopefully with a guy like Cesaro and also a guy like Seth Rollins, you would have to think when they come back, they will come back to huge impacts and probably both be monster baby faces. Thank you so much for listening to my Survivor Series 2015 reaction. Leave me all your comments and thoughts on the show below. I'm sure you already have. And keep a lookout in the next day or two. I will be up talking about whatever we see on Monday Night Raw. So I will catch you in a couple of days. Until next time, peace.